Okay, good. We have a packed house today. We got an exciting day for you. So we got some things. Let me share my screen and we'll get going. Hello, Hannah. Hello, Charlotte. So where do I do this? Good. Great. Okay, good. You should be able to see that. So this reminds me that today is the 8th of February. Do you know we're 10% through the year already? Someone just told me. That's scary, isn't it, right? 10% through the year. Some of us are just finishing last year, right? So yeah, 10% down. So we've got an exciting year between us, haven't we? So you probably don't need these, but kind of just suggestions. When I'm or anyone else is speaking, I invite you to click speaker mode so you can see that person in full. It's kind of nice to see everyone here. For you that haven't participated in the Feel the Pulse, a key element of Feel the Pulse is not only sharing new information across the movement, but it's getting to know each other. It's making new friends and contacts that can help you and you can help others in your day-to-day work. So that's a key part of what we do. I'm super excited today. I have some great women, powerful women joining me today. So I'm really excited. So I have Catalyse from the GDS-Movement. Welcome, Catalyse.
Hi, everyone.
Brilliant. Thank you, Catalyse. And then we have a special invite today to Meet for Impact, a very dear partner. So welcome, Genevieve and Fatma.
Hello, everyone. Very happy to be here.
Hi, everyone.
Fantastic. Great. And we'll explain and introduce them a bit more in a second. So our agenda today, we're going to give you I'm going to give you a little update, and Catalyse is actually going to help me about what's happening at the GDS-M and the GDS movement. Some of you know of us well, some of you are new to the movement. So we'll just give you a little bit of an update there. Then we're going to have a little conversation. We're just going to break up for a few minutes for you guys to meet each other, about 10 minutes, and just say what you're working on, sustainability and regeneration and impact. Okay. Then we're going into the kind of main feature here, which is Genevieve is gonna give us a short kind of presentation about how to use events to catalyze regeneration and impact. So introducing the work that we do with destinations and event organizers all around the world with some great case studies, a little bit of theory, not too much, but stuff to hopefully get you a bit interested. And then some really great stuff. We've got various destinations and other organizations on this call today, and we're going to invite you just to share a little bit about what you're doing to the group. And there's some really exciting things in this group already, so we'll look for that. And then number 5, we have a big announcement. We're launching a new community called Cities for Impact, and we're going to introduce that, share that with you, and invite some feedback, and then we've got a bit of discussion to close up the day. So that's us. We've got a little less than a couple of hours. You're welcome when we're talking, go and grab a coffee, but please stay connected. Yeah, sounds good. All right, ready to go. We have Milda in the background. Milda is our Zoom master, and she's joined today by Olga, and I'll introduce Olga in a second. So a few weeks ago, the GDS movement came together to do our retreat, and so we were working on our own vision and mission, and I had the joy to have our strategy session, facilitated by Genevieve from Meet for Impact. And then we invited Genevieve's team into the retreat, and then we worked on collaboration together, and then I helped facilitate a Meet for Impact's retreat. So a really lovely bit of walking the talk on our own collaboration. Anyway, so our vision really is about envisioning thriving places and communities. We kind of deliberately don't talk about destinations there, because often people don't live in destinations, do you? You don't say, I live in a destination. I live in a city or a town or a place or a community. So kind of changing our words a little bit there in our vision. Our mission, really, what we do, and we're doing it with a lot of you, is to empower people, you guys, and the people that work for you and your clients and your stakeholders with the right mindsets, skill sets, and tool sets. It's 3 words that really underline the work we do. How do we change mindsets? How do we help you change your mindsets? How do we build your skill sets? How do we help you build other people's skill sets? And then how do we help you find, design, create purchase maybe different tool sets that will help you on your journey to become a better, more regenerative destination to visit, meet, and live in. So that's what we do. We've got the 5 kind of key blocks down the outside. So many of you are working with us with the Index. Quite a few of you in this line are working with us in consulting projects. The Academy, the Forum, which is an interesting one. The Forum we will launch this year in October. So that'll be the first time we actually physically bring people together. So wait for an announcement of where that's going to be. We're just conducting kind of RFP process. If any of you would like to get that, I will receive an invite to it. Please reach us. It will be in Europe this year. There will be regional ones. So in Americas, there will definitely be one at some point. Yeah, so that's a little bit about us. I'm really excited to share that we're actually now working with over 100 destinations around the world. It's kind of knocks me back a little bit, and I'm very humble about when we started off with one. So it's really great to be working with you, and I'm super excited at some of the growth areas. We've got major growth in Canada. I think we have 20 destinations, and that's down to a lot of hard work by Alexis from Connect 7, who's on the call, who's done an amazing job connecting and working with Destination Canada to expand that. So we've got some really exciting projects in Canada. You'll hear a few in a minute. Big growth in the UK. Is Paul on the line? Do we have Paul? Is Paul there yet, or is he coming later? So we've got Paul Black from Visit Britain, and we're doing some great work together in the UK, and that's going to go to the next level this year. Exciting stuff happening in Japan. Big group of new destinations. I think 10 destinations coming from Japan. And I mentioned France. We have, Strasbourg. So we've just got a lovely steady growth of French destinations. I think we're at 10 now, destinations across France. And it's great to welcome Strasbourg and some of the other ones there. I'm not sure who else. If I'm missing anyone, team, please point out who else is from France. So it's a great. So for those of you at the Index, there's a few faces here who haven't done the Index. You're just starting. So just to remind you that the Index goes through a period where it's being updated. So we're updating it right now. We will then launch that April the 3rd when the systems are open. So you guys and cities can get in and start to input the data about your destination. And you can start asking us questions. And then you have to June the 2nd to upload all your data. Then we have a period where we will answer questions, look at the data and improve this, and then we will come back and give you some input. And so that's by the end of July the 14th, everything needs to be uploaded, and then it goes to a team. And that's where the team starts to assess it and mark it basically and get it ready for you. This year, the results will be launched in October. Date yet to be confirmed. Depends on the GDS Forum because they will be launched at our own event, the GDS Forum. And it's going to be a hell of a party. So we hope that you come and join us at that party because it's going to be a good forum, very, very different, a really unusual type of event, and then a big party for the forum. And then after that, we start delivering some reports. So that's what we're going to do. Talisa, you're kind of our guru on the Index. Anything you want to add in? And then I'll invite you to just tell us a little bit about the 24 process.
Just to note that the top part of the timeline is what we're doing as a team and the GDS movement, and the bottom part is from the destinations. So we've tried to redesign the timeline to release you for the summer. So there's just a few small updates in July, but hopefully everything should be done by then.
Thank you. And what are we going to do for next year? Because this is a bit different for us.
Yeah, I think this is exciting, actually. We have kept the criteria changes to a minimum this year. So destinations that have participated last year shouldn't expect too many changes for 2023. But starting in April, we formed a new technical advisory committee. I think some of the members are here on this call. It's a mix of academics and destinations and sustainability experts who will be working on what criteria we need to update or add or remove for 2024. And so we've given ourselves a lot of time to do this work properly and do the research well. Some of you might know that our existing criteria is aligned with the GSTC criteria for destinations. And so we are trying to keep raising the bar, and we have destinations who've benchmarked for years with us. And so we want to keep them on their toes as well and to keep making their places more regenerative. So we will begin the work of updating the criteria in April, and we'll have some consultations and working through some drafts by June. We'll have our first real draft by October, and hopefully it'll be ready to launch for next year's GDS-Index 2024. February is where hopefully, if we're able to finalize the draft a little bit ahead, we'll be able to share that copy with destinations so that they know what to anticipate before we open the benchmarking season in 2024.
Yeah, and a bit different. So this year is going to have a really light update. We're just not trying to change too much. We're trying to correct some things that could be improved. So a few of you, I see Fanny and others who have been helped on this process. But next year we envision a fairly big update, kind of, changing things around. So great, thanks, Catalyse. You're doing a great job at managing this. I really appreciate the work you do, because it's not easy trying to come up with something that works for a city in South America or Japan, as well as Canada or Copenhagen. So it's good. So a kind of key part of that work we do is last year was big for us because we launched the GDS Academy, and we had a fantastic year. And I have to say, this is one of the most rewarding things I've ever done personally. We launched the certificate in regenerative destination management. We did 2 cohorts on that. This is a 4-month kind of slow learning program. Kind of breaks all the rules of what we're doing every day. It's deep. It's beautiful. We've got another one of those coming up in March. So if you'd like to do that, and we've changed the hours. So this one will actually work for North American and South American participants. We, with Genevieve and her team, had worked a lot on the impact strategy and measurement program, and this we did in some great places, didn't we, Genevieve? We've enjoyed this, and we've done this virtually. We've done this hybrid, and we've done this face-to-face. So that's quite good. And these programs we've done in-house, and we've done some of these open class, so various destinations, and others we just got into a destination. So our last ones, we've got this running at the moment in the UK for Visit Britain, in Ireland for the Irish destinations. We just did it in Sweden for Swedish destinations. We did this in Canada for 20-something Canadian destinations. Some of you may have been on that. So great. And then lastly, we've got the storytelling, which went nicely too, as Melissa leads that. And so we were just in Sweden, in Gothenburg, running that, and Zurich, running that for Swiss destinations. And this really builds up the skills of your kind of in-house Marcom team to how to tell a better story around your sustainability, impact, and regeneration stories. There's another block, which is event management, regenerative event management, which we're just about to roll out in Canada. So exciting stuff. So if you want to be part of that, look for the relationship and partnership with TIAC. Maybe Alexis, you can ping the loop on that. So that's open for our Canadian destinations. Consulting wise, we really stepped up last year, and now it's kind of clearer and more defined where we're leading into, and this will become kind of clear. So, our specialism is stakeholder engagement and strategy co-creation. That's what it has been in the past. And we've really built that up over the last few years in terms of how we help you build your capacity, whether you're an event organizer or whether you're a destination and you want to build up your own DMO capacity or your destination team. So that carries on pretty much as it is. We're reinforcing the climate team to really start to help much more in our ability to help you do like net zero decarbonisation strategies, carbon drawdown strategies, that kind of work. So we've got some nice projects on that. Impact, that's what we're going to hear about today with Genevieve and her team. DEIA, or IDEA, as someone just told me to rewrite it, which is all about inclusion, diversity, equality, and accessibility. So it's a real focus to have lots of ideas about social sustainability. our sustainable events team and our regenerative events team, which is now led by Milda, who not only is our Zoom master, is our talented director of that team. And then the storytelling is led by Melissa, who's got 20 years in working on comms for big brands and around sustainability. So really exciting stuff around this. And I think all of that is possible only through a great team that we have, but some great relationships and great partners. And I'm really excited to welcome today Genevieve and her team. We've been working together since 2019. And it's just getting bigger and bigger. So really our partnership is about how we combine our mindset, skill sets and tool sets. Genevieve and her team are the real leaders in impact measurement and management and strategy for events and for convention bureaus to support out that. And we come from the regeneration sustainability world. And they've been very disconnected. I guess many of you may even have different people that lead that. And we don't think that's the right way to do it anymore. So we're kind of walking our talk and bringing together our approaches and really thinking of how we can actually bring an impact approach to sustainability and then really use that approach to drive regeneration of your destinations and events and communities. So, Jen, do you want to add in anything to that?
No, I mean, I think at this point, we're going to talk a little bit more about how we embed both approaches. But I think the key takeaway here is that more and more our partners and ourselves are moving towards a really holistic definition of what sustainability is and moving towards regeneration as a key focus.
Brilliant. Thank you. Okay, it's just some of the work we were doing recently together, but we'll talk about that later. Anyway, I guess what's really exciting is that throughout last year, we built the team to be able to support that. So lots of faces here, some of you who you know these people, a few faces you don't. We're organized, you can see people all around the world. We have people for each of the regions. And so it's kind of the idea is to bring the local and the global perspective. So you might know these people, but you might not know these people. So I'm really excited to introduce, and I'm not sure who's on the line today, but we have Olga. So welcome, Olga. So Olga is going to be taking over and running the academy. And so welcome, Olga. Olga joins us from the Ukraine. She had her own events agency in the Ukraine, so brings a lot of experience to us, and we're really delighted to have you here. So thank you, Olga. Anne is joining us as our operations manager. Anne was with Visit Denmark before and then had various roles, sales, marketing, operations roles in large event organizers, and so brings some great structure to us. Beatrice is joining us, again, had her own events agency, but spent the last 5 or so years running and working in a very large impact organization, who runs one of Spain's, if not Spain's largest impact convention. And so really brings us a whole different viewpoint of working with the impact community, not just the events impact community. So Beatrice will work both for Meet for Impact and for the GDS. So that's super exciting. And then Janie, last but not least, not sure if Janie's on the call, can't see. Janie joins us from Visit Scotland. Was with Visit Scotland as their sustainability director for the last, I think, 11 years, I think. Prior for that, she was with Green Tourism, which is the largest certification body for tourism in the UK. So a lot of experience. And she's one of the world's real gurus on climate strategy for tourism. So she's really going to help us set that up. So it's exciting. So that's a little bit about us. That's enough about us. What about you? This is the part where we break you up for 10 minutes and invite you to get to know some of the other people on the call. And we ask you to meet, say hello, build the community, and maybe have a talk about what you're doing in sustainability, or regeneration or impact. No rules, meet, chat, and I'll see you back in how long, Milda? Tell us.
In 10 minutes. And if you have any questions, you can always get back to the main lobby, and I'll be waiting for you here. So without any further ado, I'm just sending you to your rooms. Say hello to people that you might know or might not know.
too. So welcome, Paul. Great to have you here too, and everyone. Hope you met some new people. I certainly did. It was nice to meet some new faces. So let's move on to the body of this now. So let me share my screen again. Okay. So this bit's really about, as I said, how to catalyze regeneration and social impact through events. So my colleague Genevieve is here to join me. But we have this kind of core concept, and you've probably seen this 50,000 times. But you know, our work is about how do we stop doing the bad stuff, the stuff that degenerates your communities and your businesses. I'm really delighted that we've actually got from Guadalajara in Mexico, Intermon, which is a big fashion show. So it's actually an event organizer. So, you know, in different worlds we're looking at it. In fashion, there's a big focus on how do we reduce harm of fashion. So, you know, we need to do this at a societal level. So many of us have been really focusing on how do we minimize those risks? How do we minimize that harm? So that's the real kind of sustainable focus. And this is super important. We need to reduce our carbon emissions. We need to reduce our waste. We need to reduce inequality. But ultimately, that's no longer enough, is it? Our world is sufficiently damaged on all different levels that we need to kind of regenerate. We need to restore. We need to rebuild. We need to rewild. We need to rethink. And so that's the whole element, what we call regenerative thinking. And it's all about creating positive social impact or societal impact, you know, at an economic and environmental and social level. So that's really this whole focus. And we realized that this is important, right? And this requires some different thinking and different tools. So this is really where Genevieve and I started to brainstorm how we bring our approach. So how do we help you guys to think about how you mitigate and manage your risk, reduce your risk, reduce your footprint? So this is where we use the word footprint, the negative effects of our activity at a destination level and at an event level. And then how do we increase the handprint, all the positive stuff that we know events creates and we know tourism creates? This is a focus both on tourism and events. Today we're talking about events, but this whole approach we can think about and use for tourism and the whole of the visitor economy. Even though we're not talking about that, I'd like you to have that in your mind if you're more tourism focused, because you'll be hearing a lot more about that into the future. So yeah, so how do we create more positive impact? What does that mean? That means, say, for example, on a destination level, how do we do what we're doing to tackle climate change and biodiversity collapse? How can we use events and tourism to change people's habits, to create new initiatives, to catalyze initiatives, to make more funding and investment available? Yep. So likewise, if we do that well, we can build these new, flourishing, inclusive and equitable communities, better places to live, right? And so then if we're going to do that, that's going to enhance resident wealth. And that's deliberately spelled wrong, because we think that residents and the people that live in the city, you guys, I live in Barcelona, you know, it's super important that residents of Barcelona get something out of this boom in tourism and boom in events. And we haven't always. We've just been inconvenienced a lot. And if you live in Amsterdam or Venice, or maybe some of you live in parks and places where COVID has really changed the number of visitors. So you haven't got so much out of it. So we need to rethink that. And how do we use the events and tourism to drive social, economic development for all parts? And if we do that well, then we're going to be really enabling meaningful encounters and even better visitor experiences. And that's going to make us more competitive, you know, and a better place to live. So that's really what we're all about. And so this is a very positive way of approaching this. This is about innovation, about opportunity, about values, relevance, mind shift change. And that's kind of what gets us out of bed in the morning, because this is cool and fun. Yes. So I'm going to hand it over now to Genevieve.
Thank you, Guy. I'm equally excited for us to be coming together this afternoon and presenting this. I think one of the things that we usually do when we talk to partners and people around sustainability and impact is the fact that we're probably using words that people have different definitions for. And I think it's good for us to kind of pause and think about what it is we mean when we talk about social impact, because people have a different understanding of it. So social impact, in the way we think of it or the way we envision it, is really about change. It's about using our business strategies, using the economic activity, attracting visitors and building the visitor economy and the event economy to generate positive change for society, for the communities, for the planet. Change can come in many different ways. It could be change to the environment and affect the natural world. It could be building new infrastructure. It could be influencing policy making for the good of humanity. It could be creating social networks and social fabric. It could be enhancing and preserving our cultural heritage, or developing the economy so that it's more inclusive. It could also be about developing opportunities or knowledge or innovation. So basically, social impact is anything that produces a social asset, a new common ownership for community, and that bridges a gap or a need, an issue in our communities that we can help leverage tourism and events for in a meaningful, purposeful, and deliberate way. So when we're looking at different outcomes that we can generate through events, we've categorized them in the eight dimensions that I've just mentioned. This comes from the Capitals framework. Fundamentally, it's a way for us to use language to categorize the different types of impacts. It's also a way for us to report, right? Report to government, report to our communities, report to our stakeholders that events are not just about economic development, right? That's one of 8 categories. Events generate so much more, but we can maximize that if we're being intentional and purposeful about it. And this is what we're about, is how do we enhance what we're already doing well and improve what we could be doing better to make sure that we're intentionally generating all of these benefits from the events that we attract in our destinations. So why is this important right now? A lot of you, I think, have experienced the fact that our clients have new expectations. Guy's team and my team, we work with associations, every week that comes to us and talk about these new expectations. So the safety concerns and the digitalization and the financial risk sharing concerns are those that you're, very well aware of coming out of COVID. But there's a lot of our associations and corporations coming to us with their events, wanting to feel a better sense of place, really wanting, they could be anywhere in the world. When they come to your destination, they want to feel the destination. They want to understand your DNA. They're also looking for you to align with their values. Associations are going through a big transformation at the moment where they're redefining their values, embedding sustainability. There's growing work being done in interpreting SDGs for association. They also want to connect to ecosystems. They understand that the wealth that you're bringing to the table is your ecosystem and your stakeholders in your city. They're looking for DMOs to act as a broker for those relationships. And finally, they want to better understand the value that they create through their events, through their activity, and you can help. When they leave after their event, you're still on the ground and you have connection to the people that can feed data back to them. So what we're looking for is really kind of a shift that you've all been experiencing, where DMOs reinforce their vision and they reinforce their connection so that they're actively supporting the development policies and strategies of their city. They're contributing to sector growth, to business growth, and they're generating positive impact for the communities in a focus of regenerating what was lost. oops, sorry, I went too fast. So what does that look like for DMOs? It's really about looking at how your business strategies can develop impact strategies, and that both sets of strategies actually build on top of each other and go hand in hand. As a DMO or as a convention bureau, your business is about attracting visitors and attracting events. That's why you exist. That's your focus. That's your mission. And that's what you've got to report to at the end of the year. But when we talk about building in legacy and impact in your strategies, it's about how do you leverage that business strategy to create change? And what kind of impact are you going to have on the stakeholder communities that you're serving? And if you've got a great impact, that will only strengthen your business objectives. So what we're doing is really looking at how DMOs can help their clients define, plan, and manage these business event legacies, and how they can develop stakeholder ecosystems that are all about no longer just about attracting events, but about creating these meaningful collaboration, which means that when an event comes to town, it's being connected to the needs and gaps and needs for growth of that community. And in return, the community is feeding information about what those gaps are to the DMO and the Convention Bureau so that they can attract the right events. That process is called legacy planning. It's developing collaborative strategies that allow bureaus, DMOs, and their clients to purposely generate impacts for the communities. It calls for developing a wide ecosystem that designs, implements, and measures legacy projects around events. And we're going to talk about a couple of these in a minute. But it also requires a framework. A lot of this is done intuitively. A lot of them is done by default. But to really understand and being able to replicate that impact, it requires a process. It requires systems and frameworks and ways of measuring and reporting it. So the common ground of that framework, whenever we work with partners all over the world in developing impact and legacy projects around their event, it always starts with, what is the mission of the event? What is the mission of that organization? What kind of change do they want to create? And how does that align with the local priorities for development and social? We've got destinations that are doing really well. Yesterday, we had Gothenburg, who was on the previous Feeling the Pulse yesterday morning. Gothenburg does this systematically. Every single event that comes to town is automatically being cross-referenced with the development policies to make sure that there is a close alignment. And then they go out to their ecosystem and community in identifying, this is what we do well. What do we not do so well that this event could help with? So they look at the gaps and the needs. And this is a bit uncomfortable for DMOs. Our first thing is promoting our assets and our strengths, but it calls for a bit of humility, but also some really smart opportunity identification to say, we could be growing our community and we could be growing our sectors by looking at these gaps and addressing them. And that's where the event impact lies. So visions of change around the world, some events that have been happening and that destinations have been helping with. In Montreal, the AIDS conference in July this summer, and we've got Fanny and Charlotte with us on this call. The AIDS conference was really looking at a specific gap in the community, which was varying access to treatment for certain underprivileged groups. So a group of local doctors and practitioners got together and developed a legacy project on how the fact that the conference was coming to town could really help with that gap. We've got another event in Flanders, in Leuven, which is north of Belgium, to look at how the breaking community, so breaking is breakdance, which is an Olympic discipline starting next year. They're having the World Championship come to Leuven about a few months before, and they're really wanting to leverage that event to showcase how breaking is a sport that is easily accessible, that is a strong community, has strong values, and to help kind of reach kids that are underprivileged and showcase how the power of community through breaking can really help them develop. EASL, which is an association based in Geneva that had its meeting in London, did a huge, a really, really powerful public education project in East London. And we've got Sam that's going to talk a little bit about this. So I'll move quickly. We worked with New Zealand in Intercol, which was the International Wetland Conference, in helping raising the awareness and the importance of wetlands in New Zealand that are being destroyed by real estate promoters, and really using the conference to ultimately create protection and restoration projects. And finally, we've got the Open Education Conference. Melissa, I'm using this because I think it's a super aspiring case. It's a project that would be hopefully happening soon, where an education conference could be used to promote Indigenous knowledge systems and help kind of education system include the Indigenous perspective. So those are some really inspiring cases. We do have some people on the call now. I'm going to ask them to come forward and share, because there's some really fantastic examples out there. I'm going to start with Melissa, because we ended with a bit of your project. But Melissa, if I could call on you to come on camera and really talk to us about what you guys are doing in your destination around legacy and impact, why and how that's affecting your destination. Is Melissa still on the call?
Yeah, hi.
Oh, hi.
Thanks for a bit of time to
Welcome.
And so our organization is called Explore Edmonton. So we call ourselves explorers at Explore Edmonton. So I love that the last slide said impact pioneers and explorers. Thank you for a bit of time today to talk about our journey with your team, Genevieve. Because it's just getting started. So we're new to this journey and really approaching it from a place of learning. We decided to do 2 pilots for event legacy impact. And the reason for doing that is because actually last year, we launched something called our Responsible Events Program, because we believe that every event that comes to Edmonton should have an opportunity to create some community benefit through their event. And we want that to be part of every planning conversation that we have with our events and our clients. But for some, doing a corporate social responsibility initiative at their event, some of this like more flash philanthropy style of giving wasn't enough. We're seeing it more in bid books. We're seeing more attention on having a very well-planned event legacy approach. And we said at Explore Edmonton, we don't have the experience doing that yet. So this is why we decided to call the experts, figure out how to actually plan a framework and a measurement methodology. And we thought the best way to do it was by practicing.
Awesome. What does that mean for your team, Melissa, when you're looking at this year and next year? How is that going to change profoundly your practices?
Yeah. So there's definitely 2 things there. We've been talking for a long time about the benefit of the events industry, right? Be it economically, be it for our community. We've been talking about it for a long time, but what we want to demonstrate is some real examples of how our events can make positive impacts that go beyond the economic prosperity that events can bring to our community. Because bringing money to a community is great, but we wanted to better understand how is that money distributed within the community? How is it actually going to how is it going to leave sort of lasting value in the community? And so this is, I think, what we wanted some real proof points to demonstrate the impact that goes just beyond sort of the heads and beds in a destination. The other thing that is really powerful about this journey for us is, for a very long time, we've been marketing sustainability sort of out of this guilt or obligation. Like, we have to do this because we've destroyed the planet and now we need to do something about it. And granted, I agree with that statement that we do have to do better. But We also think that there's power in talking about a positive message about not only how we can do less bad, but also how our events have an opportunity to create a better future and to envision a brighter future for tourism and for events.
Can I jump in there? Because some people get stuck, right? They're like, sustainability over here and legacy over there. You're doing both, right? How are you finding, learning, working out how to bring those two focuses together?
Well, it's interesting that you say that, Guy, because we're right in the middle of the stakeholder engagement for our regenerative tourism strategy for Edmonton. And one of the big trends and themes came up. For a long time, Edmonton has been known, we call ourselves Festival City because we have so many different festivals, year-round festivals, winter festivals, and also ones in the summer. And so when we talk to our residents and we talk to our tourism partners, a big trend that came up and what they said to us is there's a lot of opportunity for us to do better with our festivals and our events. So not just the events that happen year round in Edmonton, but also the attracted events that come to our city. So this is what we were told when we talked to hundreds of people, right? Is that they want us to find ways to create more lasting benefits for Edmonton through events in Edmonton. So that was very apparent.
Brilliant, that's great. I have to say, you are hardcore festivals. Melissa took me last week to a winter fest. It was -18 and we went dancing outside. So what more can we ask for?
Well, that's actually a great segue. Thank you, Melissa. It's a great segue to pass the buck to Montreal, who also has really powerful and really funky winter festivals. And I'm personally sitting in Montreal speaking to you. So I'll hand it over to my Montreal colleagues, Fanny and Charlotte, because they've been doing some great work as well.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the
Hello,
invitation.
Ladies. So do you want to run through what you guys have done? You guys have started with the sustainability a couple of years ago. You brought in Fanny, who's really a dedicated manager now inside the team. Then Charlotte, your role has defined a bit, around partnership, and now you're looking at legacy and impact. Can you walk us through that journey?
Yeah, of course. And it's been I would like to say that we're very grateful about this journey. It's been, we had some challenges, but we've learned a lot. The learning curve has been big and we're grateful about it. But it all started with the sustainability strategy that Tourisme Montréal built in collaboration with the industry. And throughout this strategy, we realized that it was needed to gather some data and information to create a storyline about how events are impactful. So it's really like a combinations of actions that we decided to create these projects, to go through these projects. And we have been working on a social impact study with Genevieve and Meet for Impact, and also impact framework, where we're trying to not only demonstrate the added value events have, but truly understand, like Genevieve said, what are the gaps through our communities, how our events can regenerate and bring positive value and impact through our communities, and bringing also, not bringing, but facilitate the way we target KPIs to measure these objectives that we give ourselves, and the local community also try to target. So these project was really a way to facilitate the whole process, because it's not easy, but it can be facilitated by the way we engage our community, the way we engage stakeholders, and the way we also share the information with the clients. I do believe it's really a collaborative process that we're trying to learn and build different activities around it to be able to have added value throughout. So that would be the two main projects we had that are directly linked to our sustainable strategy that we've been implemented, I think 2 years ago, if I'm right, Fanny?
Yeah, it's been 1.5 years, so yeah.
And ladies, I think one of the things we've learned, and everyone, in this room doing this kind of work, and we've learned it together because we work together, is the whole partnership building is not, it's not linear, right? It goes up and down, and it's not easy. So what have you learned about partnership building through this process?
I do believe it's really all about the engagement. I realize how important it is to target all stakeholders that need to have a voice within that process. Earlier on, when we include everybody, and it could be, it's on their own to decide if they want to be part of this process, if they want to be part of this project. But it is important as a DMO, as I would say a link. We are like a bridge between clients, event, and the local community to add the voice of the community. And we can be wrong in who we are targeting, but they will tell us who to involve at this point. So that would be our greatest learning, I would say, with these two projects, is really involve people within the project and on an early stage. I would say even at the kickoff of the project, and throughout the process, we will add different people. There will be sometimes people leave their job and they have other ones that come in, but it doesn't matter as long as there's a community surrounding the project. It's like a community within the community. I do believe it's guaranteeing success of the project and having a minimal impact. Sometimes we give ourselves like huge objectives, but it's really important to realize that already getting through that process is a change within our organization and a change within our community. So minimal impacts are as big as we can think.
And I think one of the things I learned doing this project with you, and that we're still learning, is it's not always easy. They don't always see the value, right? I think this has been a real learning experience for all of us, is how do we communicate to them the value of them being engaged? We understand why we need to engage them, but they don't always understand that, and they don't always see that. And I think one of the key thing is kind of trying over and over, and how do we communicate that? How can they see a value of being engaged, or are we just like siphoning time away from them, right? So
I totally agree. And I would add to that sometimes understanding their fears, like having a portrait of what they're trying to achieve with that event, what are they trying to achieve in their job in general, what impact they want to generate within their own, I would say, like daily activities, professional activities, and targeting what are they scared of. Because in the process, one of the meeting I remember, Genevieve, you targeted right spot on what they were scared of, and literally it was a game changer. Now they understood, because we could change our way of presenting the project, responding directly on that fear, and just demonstrating, see, it is directly answering your need. So that would be also an added answer.
well, thank you, ladies. Wonderful work that you're doing, and we look forward to continuing supporting that. Samantha, you're speaking from a convention venues point of view, which is fantastic to have that perspective, because you're deeply anchored into your community. It's territory based. You feel like you're a citizen of that community.
Yeah.
And you started on this journey through an association project. So do you want to tell us about how that came about and where that's going for you?
Yep. Exactly. So we are, as Genevieve said, we are a venue. So unlike, I think probably nearly everyone on this call, coming at it from a slightly different perspective. But I think one of the things that, as from Excel's point of view, we are in London, which is a huge city, and actually it's quite hard to gain traction, have an impact. You know, the city's just so big. So actually we felt that it's our responsibility, part of our goals, to really look at our local area. We are, I mean, for those of you who know Excel, we're in the London Borough of Newham, which is one of the most deprived boroughs in the city, possibly in the UK. So we feel a real sense of responsibility towards our local community. We've built this massive, great big venue, and we obviously, that goes through everything that we do, from employment to, looking at staffing levels, looking at other charities that we do support as part of our daily the work that we do, and through some of our other events. And we've always known, I think, we've been talking about it since sort of, as we started to come out of COVID, that actually the legacy proposition for associations is going to become much more important. And, a bit like Melissa was saying, we're probably further back in, further at the beginning of the journey than anyone. How do we go about doing that? And how we were able to do something. We did a little bit of work with European aids actually in 21, but the key one was the EASL, the International Liver Conference last year, because they actually approached us saying that they wanted to look at some potential projects, some potential ways of raising awareness around liver disease, and what suggestions did we have. And so that's where the sort of looking at the two aspects of it, where it came to looking at maybe a local school and how they may be able to sort of get children at an early age and have liver health, and understand liver health, to liver screening. And they also wanted to get medical students to consider hepatology as their as a specialism to go into. So actually they started, I think Genevieve, thinking back to the timelines, they then started working with Meat for Impact and the team, and we then sat around a table and almost had a brainstorming as to what we could do, what options there were, given the time frame, which I think was about 3 months or something like that, if that.
It was quite tight.
So it was very, very tight. I think we all had slight, and we were able to come up with some projects that worked and did really well, and that we've been able to get good measurement on. And I think what that's then driven is that we as a venue need to look at how we can then take what we've learned from that and put that into something that we can not package up, but that we can have as a proposition to associations that maybe aren't quite as far advanced in their sort of impact journey as, say, EASL are, and how we can use that to help support them, but also that will then help support our local community as well.
Thank you for sharing that. It has been quite a very fast journey for you. So we're only talking about, starting this less than 12 months ago. And you have had, you've been involved at your level, but wanting to scale that to a bit more of a corporate project that you would take on, you've had to sell it upstairs, right? You've had to like get some buy-in from your leadership team, and that is one of the big obstacles that we get. We get told. Some people are like, we believe in it, but we've got trouble selling it internally. What was your cue to success in selling that internally?
I think it's just, to be honest, I think it's being able to show what we were able to do with EASL and actually the impact that had. So you can see that actually does drive results. It drives change. It's, the fact that we were, one of the things they did is they had free liver screening in the venue, and I think about I can't remember how many of our staff, about 75 members of Excel staff were able to take that up. So it's just starting to see those benefits, and being quite blunt as a commercial venue rather than a DMO, we do see this as a way of adding to our proposition that goes beyond just selling space, and it will in the long run will yield results hopefully on that front, but also it just gives us an extra proposition. And I know that sounds probably a little bit less what's the word, sort of more down to earth than a sort of bigger, wider, but that's the reality of it. That's what we're here to do. But actually by doing that we can generate that, but also just make change in the local area and help support that. And we do a lot on sustainability. That's a big, we are officially now sort of carbon neutral as a venue. So there's a lot of work gone into that. And I think that the recognition that is the next step is to develop then that social impact side of things. And this then ties into that. And we do we do over 400 events a year. So the change that we could help drive is huge.
And what you're saying is kind of speaks to the fact that those business objectives and those impact objectives can go hand in hand, right? It's not, you're not forgetting what you need to focus on as a business corporation, but the way that you're creating impact and advertising that and being able to demonstrate that really feeds what you're doing as on a business level. So awesome. Thank you very much, Samantha, for sharing.
You're welcome.
And thanks for being such a willing partner in this journey. We don't have a whole lot of convention centers that are really taking this upon themselves. And I think it could be an inspiration for the DMOs around the room to say, you know, we need to go back to our convention venues and get them involved as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Over to Paul, who is coming from a little bit of a different perspective. You're a national tourism organization. You're working with a lot of different DMOs across the UK that are very different in scale and type and function. And so it's also been a bit of a journey for you to kind of sell that and roll it out. Do you want to share, Paul?
Hi, sure. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for the invitation and really interesting content across you all. So thank you for sharing those. I would absolutely concur that we are at the start of this journey, and this has really been, I would say, an 8-month journey thus far. So working with sort of key stakeholders here in the UK. But it really started, like I say, 8 months ago when we first created our Visit Britain Legacy Impact Guide or Toolkit, which we worked with Genevieve and a brilliant team to put together. And obviously we took inspiration from what the brilliant work Copenhagen and Gothenburg and various Canadian destinations have done, to then see how we can then incorporate that into the UK, because as you know, UK is quite fragmented and people are at absolutely different levels of expertise in this area. So with this guide, we obviously as business events professionals, we see the purpose of business events, that they can accelerate change in key areas, and we need to do much better tools in how we display that when it's reporting to our seniors, but also into government, to why we should hopefully get stronger support in key initiatives. So when you look at the context of that guide, we kind of broke it down to really help on really stage 1 of 3 that's happening at the moment. So to try and support our DMOs, our convention centers, our PCOs, really understand the theory of legacy and impact, and really understand the different terminology. That is quite a maze at times, so that has taken a lot of time to really embed, and we're still on that journey, I'd say. So the guide is really broken down in terms of key definitions, how you initiate those kind of legacy projects, how business events can be that platform to effectuate a big change or align to a bigger mission or purpose. And it's really, like I say, given that strong definition. So the guide is then broken down into those 4 key stages, which I'm sure you talk about at length, which is that definition, understanding what that impact intention is, creating that logic model to then apply, working with that association as well as your destination to find those mutual goals. It's then how you manage that, so develop that strategy within the business event, which obviously involves then stakeholder mapping, the measurement, which is our next class, I believe, which we're all looking forward to. So that's all about data and impact and making sure you create evidence for that change and that impact. And then finally, really importantly, is maximizing it in terms of how you report on that impact. So to kind of support this, because obviously it's quite a hefty document, it's around 40 pages, so happy to share this with everyone afterwards. We're now doing a course working with Guy and Genevieve and all their brilliant team on trying to embed that learning, because then the next stage after that is hopefully more kind of universal application from our DMOs. So the course we've been running, which has been in operation since December, is 6 classes. Which is on impact management and strategy, how you implement that impact with case studies, which is really important, like some of those words before that Melissa and Charlotte said is so super helpful. And then really how you strategize and measure and amplify that impact. So we have around 52 registrations, so that's a mixture of convention bureaus, so DMOs from across Britain and Northern Ireland, some also convention centres such as Sam from Excel, but obviously a few others around the country, and then also PCOs. So we try to bring those 3 core people from the ecosystem all together, because I guess they're all part of the process, they're all essential in trying to effectuate that change, and it's been well received. And I think the big learnings we've definitely had is sometimes utterly overwhelming completely, but I would say that sometimes it is staring you in the face that some of the impact that some of these events deliver are absolutely there. The challenge is how you measure it and how you articulate it. So it's been, yeah, really interesting journey, but we're very grateful to the GDS and Meet for Impact teams for really helping us on that crucial journey.
That's great.
You know, before we move on, I want to ask you something we don't ask enough. What's your big vision for change? Like when this is all over and we, you know, people are implementing it, what's that vision looking like for you?
I think it's short term is by the end of this calendar year is to have 4 or 5 great examples where people have thought differently in how they talk about business events. And I think we can do that because we've identified a couple of events that would really do it. But then I think sort of mid-long term is, and the environmental side is they're not mutually exclusive, like you were saying before. They're a critical part of how you measure positive societal impact. But I think the big kind of objective with it, which is why it's very interesting hearing from Montreal, is how you bring that community on that journey, because sometimes that is the forgotten sort of sector, right? Well, it's not a sector, but group of people, or how you bring the community in to really leverage the opportunity of having these incredible people attend a business event. And I think that wider recognition and knowledge of the power of those events and what they bring, that will be for me the big game changer, whilst maintaining and absolutely leading by example that you know, you have environmental sustainability and social, but included on every leg of the journey to justify the investment of organising such event.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul, for sharing. We look forward to continue engaging with you. And hopefully in a few months' time or in a few, you know, in a year's time, we're going to be having some event people talking to us about their journey. We've got people from Intermoda here. We've got the representative from FIEXPO who are going to roll out their first sustainability and legacy strategy this year. So we'll invite you back, ladies, to talk to us about what that looks like. Before we move on, we're going to do a little poll because we are interested in knowing what everyone else is doing around the room. And the quickest way to do that is just to roll out a little poll and ask you what you're doing and how, you know, what are your barriers to success so that we can better identify how the community can help. So first question, what is your organization currently doing? And second question, what are the primary barriers? So you can activate that poll and vote from your screen. Can they vote? Can anyone vote?
It should be there, and yes.
Oh, okay, perfect. One person has voted. So just click on.
Read the answers, I think. So let's be gentle on timing.
Perfect. Okay, I just want to make sure that it was working.
You can't vote. We're not letting you vote.
No, I can't vote. No, but I do see it. So
you see it and you go, oh, it doesn't work. And it does for everyone else.
And people are definitely voting for those who are not seeing what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
We'll give another minute or so. The questions and the opportunities to answer are quite lengthy. So I think we need to make sure that everybody has a good understanding of it.
So there's an interesting trend arising for both questions. So giving you guys 30 seconds to cast in your vote.
Good, we'll share the results, then I'll share my screen again.
Okay.
Another 10 seconds and I'll showcase the results.
Perfect. So we've got a split answer on the first one, but a fairly consistent pattern on the second question.
You should be seeing the results now.
We're not seeing it on the screen.
Yeah, these guys can. I don't think we can.
Okay. So if we look at the first questions, we've got about half of the cities that have responded that don't have a program. And then another half are either, you know, have a CSR program, or they're developing a program, which is good to know that at least half of you have a CSR program or that are thinking about a legacy program. What's interesting for the second question, and this is completely reflecting a lot of what we hear, Guy, around when we do these workshops, it's lack of capacity and resources within the organization. And a lot of this, I mean, people around the room, Paul, Melissa, Charlotte, Sam, they've all had to go around this and they've all had to make the business case to invest. So it does take a couple of years for organization to kind of get the resource together. But what we've heard is a key way of getting these resources and capacity is creating case studies and kind of putting these case studies forward. Guy, anything to add?
Well, I think this kind of conversation reminds me of sustainability a few years, and I just wanted to share this image. It was a guy wrote a book called Geoffrey Moore about crossing the chasm, about the implementation of IT, and it kind of reminds me of kind of where we are at with impact. Is that, you know, there's a few of you out there are the innovators and a few of the early adopters. You've kind of managed to get over a smaller chasm, right? Some of you've kind of worked out how to start together programs in Montreal, Edmonton, etc. But it's not mainstream yet. And to get to mainstream, we've got to jump over the big chasm, the big scary chasm before we get into mainstream. And so for some of you, you know, you haven't even started, you haven't got over the smaller chasm. So a kind of question then really is, how do we do that? Where do we start, Genevieve? What's next for the people who haven't started?
Yeah, well, I think if we can summarize a few of the approaches that were shared this morning, one of them is capacity building. And this is pretty much where everyone starts, right? Guy, is training. You've talked about the certificate and the academy, training the teams and understanding what this means for them, how they can do this, what they need, you know, what kind of resources they need, and then how to kind of bring on their stakeholders with them. A few destinations have started doing pilot projects. Melissa in Montreal, you know, have shared this, Sam with Easel. So basically working on one event or two events, doing a deep dive into how does that look like? You know, what does that look like? How can we help? And then creating a business case out of it to get more of these projects running. Some destinations are going at it from the strategy side. So they're really working in strategic planning, embedded an impact and legacy mindset in their business strategies. That is work that can start this year for next year, but we're really seeing a mind shift, and most of the destinations that are doing this have either done one or two or both before they actually start this strategy development. And finally, the development of a measurement framework for organizations who are more focused on their KPIs, who are being asked to report on indicators. Once you've done the basic background work, it's really about identifying how embedding legacy and impact into your tourism sustainability or business events attraction strategy delivers on specific indicators. And what we're seeing is destinations are anchoring that into bigger frameworks, right? Either their city strategic plan or even their city's SDG strategy. So how can you report against a bigger framework that your activity is delivering on these objectives? In the next slide, ultimately, just to bring that forward, we're seeing three main benefits of doing this in destinations. One is really about attracting more events, but attracting better events. Some of the destinations that have started on this journey have made a conscious decision to actually tweak their business events attraction strategy so that there's a systematic alignment from these events with the value creation in their communities. And that makes them an incredibly attractive and competitive destination. A second benefit is really that you're positioning yourself strongly as a key driver of development. So at par with investment or trade or talent attraction in your city, you're using business events to leverage the growth of your sectors, and you're being recognized by other stakeholder groups as a key driver. And finally, the third set of benefits is you're delivering sustainable solutions. You're delivering sustainable solutions to your community, to your residents, but also to your clients. At the moment, we're kind of in front of the demand, but I can tell you, and I think a lot of people that are already working on this in the call can tell you that demand is growing fast. And the destinations that are developing this are meeting that demand in advance. They're not going to be taken by surprise. All of this comes to us having identified a need to develop a community to support destinations that are wanting to do this work. And two key members of our team, Fatma Khalid and Catalyse Stevens, who are joining us today, will talk to you about what that's going to look like. This is an exciting initiative. Guy and myself and our whole team are rolling out this year, and we will let our colleagues tell you all about it.
Thanks, Jen. So yeah, we wanted to introduce the concept of Cities for Impact to you. So this is something that myself and Catalyse are working on behind the scenes, me from Meet for Impact's perspective and Catalyse from GDS, so very much a collaborative project. And effectively, Cities for Impact is going to be a community of like-minded cities to promote the impact work that we are doing. We're hoping that this is going to be a network of people who are already working on impact, legacy, and sustainability strategies. They've got a proven track record, and it's really to help take them to the next level. It's about sharing best practice, providing that network, and being able to provide a community for collective learning and to push destinations together as we go forward. If we can go to the next slide. And so this just talking about how being part of Cities for Impact can help cities. The idea is to support DMOs and municipalities to maximize the societal impact through their events and through the tourism that already comes to them. So just kind of, compounding the themes that we've already talked about today. So if being part of Cities for Impact will help to build on your existing knowledge base, it can help you to benchmark your progress by giving you similar cities to compare against for the projects that you have, as well as providing inspiration and being able to compare notes and being able to discuss what can work in different contexts, which helps to then drive performance, making sure that these kinds of initiatives that you're running are really fit for purpose and for your own context. And also it'll be a little bit of a marker of success. So being part of Cities for Impact, because it is for those people who are a bit more established, will help you to be recognized as one of those people who are pushing the frontier of social impact in your cities. And I will pass over to Catalyse, who's going to share a little bit more about what this will look like substantively.
Thanks, Fatma. So as everybody on this call has probably gathered, this program is quite steeped in sustainability, impact, and legacy. So members of this community that we're trying to build have to already be participants of the GDS-Index. For any destinations who are not part of the GDS-Index already, you can express your interest to us. We've popped an email address at the end of this presentation, and we can work something out. Well, we've made this a requirement because there's so much that goes into this. One aspect of it is the community, where there will be tools, case studies, shared knowledge, and the growing database of thought leadership that will come out of the work that we will be doing together. The other building blocks of the Cities for Impact is the GDS-Index impact module. So this will be a new set of criteria that will be more impact and legacy focused. And this will be an additional and optional module. So for destinations who are already doing the GDS index, they can opt in for it. We are developing an advisory panel as well. It would be similar to the technical advisory committee that already exists for the GDS index criteria, but the advisory panel will be looking again specifically at impact and legacy. There will be an impact improvement report that will come out of that criteria as well. And more details on this as they come, because this is currently being developed. And most exciting of all is that we are going to introduce a new award. We're calling it the Impact Award. So every year at the conclusion of the GDS Index, we have an award ceremony where we recognize the leader of the index, which has been Gothenburg for 6 years. Most improved is for destinations that have made the biggest leap in their performance year on year, and the most innovative destination. So we recognize projects that have really broken boundaries. The Impact Award is meant to do the same thing. So we will be recognizing destinations that have made significant and meaningful impact in their destination. So this Impact Award, we're planning to launch it at the GDS Forum in October. I think this building blocks really encapsulates the strengths of the two teams working together. So you can see the impact and legacy aspect from Meet for Impact, as well as the criteria and the award aspect from the GDS movement. And so,
and if I think if I can come in from, you know, coming from someone who's not been super involved in the index for in the past, I think it really showcases the power of the index to be a tool for improvement and to really bring cities on the year to that next level. So I'm particularly excited that we're bringing in the impact perspective, leveraging something that you guys have built for so long, and that really is, is really kind of showcasing what people are doing well, and then showing them how they could be doing even better. So I'm particularly excited about that.
Thank you. No, thank you for that input. And now we'd like to hear from everyone else. We have a question for you on our Miro board in the next slide. We'd like to know, what are your challenges and barriers working on impact and legacy? Or to phrase it a different way, if you had infinite resources, what do you wish your DMO could do more of? This community is as much yours as it is ours. And so we'd like to co-create with you to see what you'd like to come out of this community. So we're going to share a link to the Miro board in the chat here, and the question as well. Thank you, Milda. And when you visit the Miro board, you will be broken up into different rooms. I think we're having this still in a breakout format. Your room number will be the group number that's on the Miro board. And so you can use the Post-it notes as an interactive space, put down your ideas, discuss with your Zoom roommates on what your challenges and barriers are working with impact and legacy.
And I think this is a great follow-up to the little poll that we had before, because, half of the cities said that their main barrier was resources. So hopefully you can share amongst each other what tips and tricks you've found to kind of get around the resource question, or how you're building a business case to get more resource. And certainly just kind of make sure that you're sharing what you're doing well, and then, looking for allies around the room.
Great.
Good.
Send you all to your rooms for the next 11 minutes.
Exactly what it's saying. So great. So I don't know about you, but I had a great conversation in my rooms. Super interesting. We just got a few minutes to kind of wrap up, and so interested. Anyone would like to share anything they heard that's inspiring from someone else, or they've got something they're working on they would like to share around, what you think is the barriers and how you overcome them. And if not, we'll start to pick on some people. I'll also pick on my team and our teams if they heard anything. So Gwendol, you were talking about something earlier, and you know I'm going to pick on you because I always pick on you. So it's kind of now it's part of the course. But I'm interested. You picked on a really good barrier earlier in the chat, and I just wondered if you kind of continued that.
Yes, I did. So the barrier that I identified is really destination partner capacity. So one of the things I've seen in the past, really in sort of the more like sort of traditional old school CSR activation and around volunteerism or trying to organize an activity for delegates, it often involves a partner and can that can create a barrier in the sense that it pulls them away from their core work to accommodate an event or a volunteerism activity if they're not structured to do that already. So that's a capacity barrier. And so really thinking about if you're doing that, having either professional support to take that load off the receptive organization. So that was one barrier we discussed. The other one was really also from the DMO perspective, or is the library of community organizations that you might partner with, and what your knowledge is. There's so many charitable NGO charities, community organizations that are really focused on impact and legacy in their mission, but knowing all that's available in your destination, all the partners that might be there, I think is an area that takes work. And it's like I think of it as like tending to a garden. Like you might know what you know 5 years ago, but the organization's missions and values have adapted over time. And so being able to know where they're focused, where they're addressing a need in the community changes over time. And so I think that work, finding partners that can help you with that is a really interesting area. And in the past, we've worked with the United Way Lower Mainland. So United Way is kind of a large umbrella organization, and they've really saw the opportunity in their focus from just helping to drive fundraising to finding ways to engage people as an opportunity to then create future funders, so to speak. If you volunteer or if you engage with their organizations through an event, you then might become someone who is a future donor. So they were thinking of it in that capacity as sort of building engaged people. And so that was I think an interesting partnership.
So you're touching on what we talked about with Charlotte, is finding that sweet spot where you can identify what's in it for them and what value they gain to convince them to engage.
Yeah, and being very sensitive to their like not proposing something that creates a burden, because sometimes you say, oh, I can bring all this benefit, but really being sensitive to are we paving the road to hell with good intentions, and really listening carefully to those partners so that they're coming willingly and really that we're really delivering value, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's really good. We did something recently. We brought a group of those people, those stakeholders together, just for them to get to know each other. And you say, like, yeah, you're the impact makers of this city, and many of them didn't know each other. And then we said, how do we work together? How do we use events? We start to have that conversation. And what was quite surprising, we didn't expect, they all came up with positive stuff, but they came back to us and said, dear DMO, you need to get your act together. You need to get the sustainability together. So if we're going to start to bring these events to us, we've got to have a better sustainability story. And that was a kind of real, whoa, bit of a slap in the DMO's face. And so, it shows that, sustainability and the impact approach has to go in line, and we can't leave one without the other, etc. Good. What about group one? Who was in that group?
It was our group. I think we had some interesting. Is Daniel still around? Daniel, you were there. Would you mind sharing a little bit what you were talking about? Daniel, through Intermoda, is tackling some interesting challenges because they're they're actually looking at what's wrong with the fashion industry and trying to fix it. And that's really, really courageous. So do you want to share a bit on that and how that's going internally, Daniel?
Yes, of course. Well, we're trying right now to implement a new program of workshops and talks regarding the problematics about the fashion industry, because we know there's a lot. It's like one of the most, it's one of the industries that actually pollutes them more, and not even just like the fabrics. Also, the water is very polluted. There's a lot of inconsistencies about who is making the garments, for example, the payment, the child labor. There's a lot of things that are actually happening around the world with the fashion industry. And we're going to try to explore these topics, but I'm not only showing what is happening, because everybody knows what's happening, to show our exhibitors, which are around 950 brands that we have at Intermoda, to show them what kind of things they can do and what kind of things they can implement within their company and within their brands to actually start to become change makers and to actually be part of the change and to see how they can implement it even in their tax, because there are a lot of certificates that they can see or they can analyze to see the traceability of their garments, to see who made it, to see where the fabric is coming from, to see if the fabric is polluting the water or if it's not polluting the water. So not only showcasing the problem, but giving them solutions and bringing people that can help them to see this and how they can well, yeah, be part of the bigger picture and to help the not only the ecosystem but also the employment part.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And what I love about what you guys are doing, and I had Peter Marisa in my group, we were just talking about it, is that you're not looking outside only, you're looking inside as well. So you're typing an approach, which is, you're looking at the sustainability and the operation practices of your own event and getting that right. And then looking at the industry and how you can change that. And that's exactly the right approach. So well done for that. And I love it how you've got the collaboration with the Convention Bureau and the Centre. And yeah, you haven't started and you've already done loads. So it's really exciting. Well done, Daniel.
Well, sometimes the impact is in the intention and the collaborations and the, walking the talk. What I also love about this is that it's a trade show. It's not a conference, and it's easier to do with conferences, but not a lot of trade shows are doing this. So well done. And I love Daniel said, we want to do it well, and then we want to show other trade shows how to do it well. And that's the spirit.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. Anyone else? Kind of last comments, anything to add? Well, anyone else? If not, then we're maybe, do you want to do a wrap up of this bit then, Genevieve?
Sure. I think there's lots of things that came out in our conversation. I do think that this collaboration and the fact that we've come together is fantastic. Chloe from Strasbourg was saying we're just starting this and it's our first year on the index, and already coming to this event has really inspired her this morning or this afternoon. And she says it's really given me lots of good tips. So her takeaway is she's going to go back to Bella from your team and talk to her about, how she gets started and how she starts kind of pollinating this in her community. So I would say that one takeaway for me is what Alejandra said. It's about connecting back to purpose and connecting back to values and really connecting back to why we're doing this and why our clients are having events and why we're supporting these events. So impact is really about delivering on that purpose and delivering on that value. And sustainability, legacy, impact, it's a journey. Some of you are starting, some of you have been on this for a long time, but this community is really, really powerful. So thank you for inviting us, and thank you for everyone for attending.
Yeah, so thank you again. Thanks to all of our great speakers, all our guests, my team and Genevieve's team for everything that works in the front and the background. And we look forward to seeing you again. So we will be having another Meet the Pulse next month in April. We haven't picked dates yet. We need to get to that. So you'll be hearing more about that soon. We haven't worked out the order yet, but we're having some sessions on climate. How do you create more climate strategies and positive impact? We'll be looking at some social sustainability issues around IDEA, what we mentioned earlier. And then many other things. We've got ideas around communication, greenwashing. We've got a few ideas. So yeah, if you'd like to know anything more about Cities for Impact, citiesforimpact@gds.earth is the email, or info@gds.earth. It's easy, and we're pointing in the right direction. So have a great week. It's a pleasure, and hope to see you somewhere on one of our courses coming up, or in a trade show, or somewhere else. So take care, everyone.